You felt it, right? That constant low-grade hum of pressure. With AI changing our jobs, the economy feeling a bit shaky, and just the incredible speed of everyday life. It honestly feels like we're all caught in this massive cognitive storm, and our minds are just struggling to keep up.
And look, this isn't just a hunch or feeling. The data backs it up. A recent study found that 44% of U.S. employees feel completely, totally burned out. Just think about that for a second. That's nearly half the people you work with feeling emotionally spent by the end of the day.
And this isn't just a personal issue, not by a long shot. The World Health Organization estimates that burnout is costing businesses a staggering $322 billion every single year. And that's all in lost productivity. So we're not talking about a few people having a bad week. This is a massive economic and, frankly, a huge human crisis.
Okay, so let's really dive into this, because what we're looking at here is so much more than just stress. It's a full-blown burnout epidemic. And here's the most important part. This is not some kind of personal failing. It's a systemic problem that's been created by our modern world.
Now check this out, because this is where it gets really interesting. This cognitive storm, it's hitting younger generations way harder and way faster. While the average American usually hits that peak burnout point around age 42, Gen Z and millennials are reporting their absolute highest levels of stress at just 25. That tells you everything you need to know about how much the pressure has accelerated.
So what's actually fueling this fire? Well, no surprise, an overwhelming workload is the #1 culprit for more than half of all employees. But look at the other stuff. That constant pressure to innovate, clunky, inefficient systems. And then there's this wild twist. A full 77% of employees say AI has actually added to their workload, not made it easier. It's like we're fighting a multi-front battle for our own attention and energy.
To really get what's happening, we've got to go deeper. We need to look at what's going on inside our own heads. What is actually happening to your brain when it's caught in the middle of this storm?
So your brain has this amazing built-in survival network. It's called the distress system. The easiest way to think about it is like a smoke alarm. The main players are the amygdala, that's your little threat detector, and the hypothalamus, which basically controls your whole stress response. It's a brilliant system that evolved to save you from, immediate danger.
And this is exactly how it works. When your brain spots a threat, and it really doesn't care if it's a saber-toothed tiger or just an urgent email from your boss, the amygdala sounds the alarm. That signals the hypothalamus, which then floods your body with the stress hormone cortisol, getting you ready to either fight or run for your life.
But here is the massive problem in our world today. That smoke alarm is always going off. And when that happens, the emotional, super reactive amygdala basically hijacks the rational planning part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex. You literally lose the ability to think clearly, to plan, to regulate your emotions. You're just reacting.
And this is a big but. It does not have to be this way. The story doesn't just end with a hijacked brain. We can actually give ourselves a mental upgrade. We can install new software to help us navigate this storm.
And right here, this is the most empowering piece of the entire puzzle. Your brain is not fixed hardware. It's incredibly adaptable. It's capable of physically changing and creating new connections based on what we do and think. This amazing ability is called neuroplasticity, and honestly, it's the key that unlocks everything else we're about to talk about.
This brings us to a whole new way of thinking about mental strength. We used to talk about resilience as grit, just toughing it out, enduring, and hopefully bouncing back to where you were before. But this idea of learned resilience is totally different. It's a strategic process. You select challenges, you reflect on them, you recover properly, so you don't just bounce back, you build forward. You actually increase your capacity. NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang, put it pretty bluntly. Now, let's be clear. He's not wishing for bad things to happen to people. What he's saying is that real resilience, the kind that truly leads to success, isn't built by trying to avoid difficulty. It's forged by navigating it, by learning directly from the struggle and coming out stronger on the other side.
So the big question is, how do we actually do this? How do we build this new kind of resilience? Well, let's get practical. Let's open up the cognitive toolkit. Okay, One of the most powerful tools you have is something called cognitive restructuring. It's basically a 5-step process for taking back control of your thought patterns. You learn to spot what triggers a negative thought, you say it out loud, and then you systematically challenge it with actual evidence until you can create a new, more balanced thought. Think of it like a workout for your brain.
And that brings us to the core framework, the Thrive Loop. Now, this isn't about sitting around and waiting for a challenge to smack you in the face. It's a proactive cycle. You take on a challenge. You hypothesize one small step. You reach out and actually do it. You inspect what happened. You value the lesson you learned. And then, crucially, you energize and recover before you repeat the loop. It's how you turn adversity into actual growth, one deliberate step at a time.
So what does all this mean? What's the bottom line? It means we are not passive victims of this cognitive storm. Not at all. We have the tools, and we have the biological capacity to forge a mind that is truly future-proof.
I really love this quote from Mel Robbins because it just gets right to the heart of everything. All this knowledge, all these tools, they're totally useless without action. Confidence isn't something you just have. It's something you build. And you build it, just like resilience, through the simple and sometimes scary willingness to just try.
Look, this storm isn't going away. If anything, it's probably going to get even stronger. So the only real question left is the one you see right here. Now that you know what's happening and you know what's possible, how will you choose to forge your shield?